One of the most important steps of planning a solo trip as a woman is deciding where you're going to stay. So I want to walk you through how I do this. The most important part of this is getting the area right. What neighborhood are you going to stay at? And you're planning a trip to a destination where you've never been before and you're not familiar with where is safer and where is maybe less safe. How are you supposed to figure out where to book your accommodations? Well, there are a few different ways. First of all, as a travel blogger myself, I would be remiss not to mention that you need to just search Google and look for bloggers who have actually been to these destinations, because as someone who posts both on social media and on my blog, the work that I do for my blog is a lot more thorough. So consulting travel blogs is a great first step, and I do this anytime I travel. I look up where to stay in X, best areas to stay in X, neighborhood guide for X, whatever X is the destination. And then I read through not only to see what neighborhoods are the most secure and safe, most centrally located, but also which matches my vibe the most. Another really great way to research the best area to stay in is to join Facebook groups that are focused on that destination. These could be groups of people who are also planning trips to this destination, people who already live there as nomads, general interest groups for these destinations, and then in those groups you can do a search for where to stay, best areas to stay. Very likely someone has asked that question before or it's come up, and then you can do some additional real life research based on what people share in the comments there. Or if it's not coming up, you can ask that question yourself in the group. As you start to narrow in on the area, you also want to think about what's the vibe that you want. What kind of place do you want to stay in? Do you want to stay in a hostel? I don't really mess with hostels anymore. I'm 37 and I'm over it. Do you want to stay in an Airbnb or an apartment of some kind? Or do you want to stay in a hotel? And then beyond that, for the hotel piece, so for example, I was just in Thailand and Vietnam and I stayed in hotels the whole time, which I have mixed thoughts on. But what is the level of comfort that you are needing from your hotel room? I would say as a solo traveler, you want to be in a place that's definitely clean and secure and comfortable enough. But do you imagine that you're going to want to spend a lot of time hanging out in your room, working from your room, recharging in your room? In that case, you might want a bigger, nicer hotel room. Versus in some of the destinations I visited, I was like, I don't want to get too comfortable because then I won't leave my room to explore. Once you know what kind of accommodation you want and you know what area you want to stay in, you can start looking at actual places. I'm just going to tell you what I do. I read practically every single review on my top contenders. I am not a type B traveler. I am definitely type A when it comes to this stuff. I want to make sure that I'm going to be somewhere that I feel really good. So I will read all the reviews. I'll sort by lowest and see if the deal breakers for other people matter to me, if they're my same deal breakers. I will search for things like smell, dirty, cockroach, bed bugs. Like I want to make sure that that is not coming up in the reviews for the places that I end up booking. I also try to filter to look at reviews from fellow solo travelers. I look up terms like safe, walkable, location, all of these things. Of course, you should also take a look through the pictures, but something you want to be mindful of that came up for me a lot, specifically in like Thailand and Vietnam, is that the photos that are on the sites, like on Booking and even on Google, from the hotel are not always up to date. So what you want to do is go to photos uploaded by visitors or by users, and those are likely more accurate depictions of what kind of room you're going to be walking into. Finally, before I book anything, I've looked at the area and all of that. I also pull up the property, the location on my Google Maps. I'll go into Street View and I'll look around at this street and I'll see what it looks like. Then I'll go out of Street View and just look at the map and see what kind of businesses, what kind of cafes are around there. What are the reviews of those places? I mean, this is like probably, I'm being extra, but I want to know what kind of area I'm going to be in and what's going to all be around me. So that is probably the final step that I take. I think I've covered everything here. It's a very time-consuming process for me, but it ends up being worth it. I'm definitely the kind of person who likes to have as much of my planning done beforehand so that I can relax when I'm actually on my trip and have less decision fatigue on the actual trip because I just get to show up because past me has taken care of it. I have a full guide, like step by step, for how to plan your solo trip. It's a blog post on the blog. You'll be able to access that and a whole bunch of other solo travel focused blog posts and YouTube videos. If you are dabbling in taking a solo trip, definitely check those out and let me know if you have any questions.